Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Humans in the News. This week I'm going to kick things off by talking about the confusion surrounding the Astrazeneca vaccine. And I'm going to start with how there shouldn't really be any confusion. The alarm over blood clots seems rather misplaced. The statistics show that the blood clot deaths aren't even above average. Any connection to the vaccine seems circumstantial. So why is everyone worried? I don't know. Maybe it's the years of anti-vaxxer bullshit that has circulated unmoderated on social media, which has only been made worse by the tremendous amounts of coronavirus misinformation which has flourished over the last year. Not forgetting that a certain former president of the US was the source of a lot of, COVID gibberish really. So all of this has come together to create a sadly predictable perfect storm. Rollouts are paused to pacify the tinfoil hat-wearing minority because this absolutely needs to appear safe beyond all question. But there is a problem with this. You can't reason with a crazy person. If someone wants to believe the vaccine isn't safe, they will. Pausing the rollout won't help. It's only made the rollout look hasty and ill-judged to begin with. Another win for the conspiracy theorist. So when the vaccine is declared safe and rolled out again, the tinfoil hat fans will declare it was all to improve the microchip in the vaccine or something similar, and you're back at square one. Anyway, now I'm going to pass over to Blettin to talk about, what you going to talk about, Blettin?
This week I'm going to talk about Donald Trump. Yes, things just seem to get worse and worse for poor Uncle Donald. It was revealed this week that his personal fortune has severely depleted during his time as president. Poor man. On top of that, his behaviour around the Capitol riots means that the few deals he did have are no more, including the only bank that would fund him since he went bankrupt. And let's not forget, there is a certain amount of guesswork here, since he seems rather forgetful about his finances and tax returns and things like that. And he can't seem to find the paperwork, no matter how much people keep asking him for it. So, what is poor Uncle Donald to do? Well, he certainly seems to have some very loyal supporters. Perhaps he can use them somehow. I mean, not in a coup or anything like that. No, not this time. But perhaps he can use them in a way that he can make revenue, like social media, or writing his memoirs, or being on TV. So this isn't the last we've seen of Uncle Donald. If anything, it's only the beginning. And I, for one, would love to see him back on my TV screen in a show called The Trial of Donald J. Trump, as long as it had a happy ending. Back to you, Zula.
Wow, Blettin, I mean that sounded kind of like a threat, but anyway, and now a word from our sponsor. This toothpaste is great for cavities. What? Oh, but this toothpaste is really good for sensitive teeth. Hang on, what, this one is really good for whitening? Hang on, stop now. Can't I just have one that does all three? Honestly? Yes, I want fresh breath too. It's toothpaste. What the... Am I really dreaming the impossible dream here? I might just as well use chalk and a stick. Wow, you humans really like to make things confusing, don't you? Even toothpaste? Really? Anyway, moving on. Now it's over to Corey for... I'm just going to call it the weather. I'm not even going to try and explain it anymore. So take it away, Corey. Guess who has popped back into our lives? Yes, your hero and mine, Dominic Cummings. And what has he reappeared to tell us? Well, the same thing as always, really. I'm right. And it was very interesting in a week that has seen criticism of science funding, calls for transparency over the government's COVID contracts, and hiccups in the vaccine rollout. Well, what a surprise that Super Cummings has reappeared to address all three. As usual, he is an absolute hero. He takes the credit for the foundation of a cutting-edge scientific research agency, even though it is only moderately funded, raising the question of where it'll get its money from, followed by the answer, no one knows, because it is exempt from freedom of information requests. Well, that sounds perfectly legitimate and above board. Yes, you can tell it was Super Cummings' idea. And if you're worried about the transparency of the government's COVID contracts, don't be. Super Cummings has put our mind at rest on that one too. Basically, it was an absolute nightmare of bureaucracy to try and find things and source supplies and release the funds and what a nightmare. So that's why they gave all the contracts to their friends. See, I knew there would be a good reason. And that's also why Super Cummings takes credit for the vaccine rollout too. I mean, what would we do without him? I hope one day we find out. Back to you, Zula. Wow, is there something going on that I don't know about? Because that sounded like another threat. Anyway, I wouldn't mess with you, Corey. Anyway, now it's time for this week's special mention. This week's special mention goes to those Reddit investors. Yes, they've done it again. This time, they've adopted gorillas. And I like this story because it shows up a bias that even a highly evolved space monkey like me suffers from. The belief that all social media is bad. Well, we're all clever enough to know that nothing is ever all good or all bad. But over the last year, I think we've seen how destructive social media can be. Whether it's the unhealthy, addictive nature it cultivates in us, or the ease with which it can spread dangerous misinformation, or the way it seems to have become something beyond laws or restrictions or, well, basic morals really. Yet here is social media acting as a platform for some really positive change. So is it down to the platform? Reddit is more like a forum, whereas Facebook is more like a, battlefield. Reddit users can achieve something that Facebook users couldn't or wouldn't. Which takes us right back to the idea of something that is all good or all bad, when really it's parts of each. Except Facebook. Really, it's evil. Get rid of it while you still can. So you go and do that, and I'll see you next week for more Humans in the News.